of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll go on to the roll call.
Dr. Dave Bartle,
Here.
Dr. Nolde,
Here.
Wayne Gagnon,
Here.
Jill Maddock Nelson,
Here.
Andy Mary,
Here.
Mary Neufeld,
Here.
Danny Pyatt,
I'm here.
J.D. Schrader,
Here.
Angel Zimmerman.
Here.
Okay, and then we will go on to citizens and delegations, public comment. If you want to bring up the book. And we welcome all of our visitors to this board meeting. I would like to take this time to remind all of us how tonight's proceedings will work. You must be signed in to speak during public comment, and your time will be limited to 5 minutes. As is the protocol for all regularly scheduled board meetings, we will not be taking comments or questions from the audience. So that everyone can hear, please refrain from having side conversations. As with our students, we expect everyone here to remain respectful. And we'll start with Jennifer Crescent.
Hi, I'm talking about SEL, and not last week, but the last board meeting, you guys had a presentation and teachers talked about the SEL program, and they kind of went through all how it all goes and all the details of it. And as a parent of 2 kids that are in the school system, when I was sitting back listening to what they're talking about, I was just going to kind of go over my takeaway from it. One big thing is, and what you guys did talk about last week, is the teacher overload, like how the teachers are overworked. There's a shortage of teachers, and some of them are having to pick up classes because of the shortage of teachers out sick. Then that SEL program, what the teachers talked about that day that they're here, is basically you're putting all the responsibility onto the teachers and taking pretty much all responsibilities off the parents and off the kids' shoulders. And I just am dumbfounded by that. I mean, the way they're talking about is you want to take away homework. So you're not going to do homework, you're not going to send homework home with kids anymore because it's unfair to the kids that don't have parents there to sit down with them and do their homework. So you're going to enable parents that are not there for their kids, that are not being responsible parents and sitting down with their kids. So you're just going to be like, okay, well, we're not going to do homework for any kids anymore because it's just unfair for those few homes that are not very good. I feel bad for those kids, don't get me wrong, that don't have parents that are there and being responsible and sitting down and helping them with their homework and studying and giving them the opportunity to get their homework done. But to take away that and that responsibility from kids, it teaches them responsibility. It teaches them how to work hard for good grades. It teaches them that you need to do your homework to pass your classes. And then another thing with the SEL program, oh, well, we're not even going to have Fs anymore. No one's going to fail. Everyone's just going to pass, even if you don't do any homework. What is that teaching our kids? I want my kids to learn that if you want to pass your classes and move on and go to college, that you need to do your homework. You need to work hard. You need to study. You know, I'm not going to force them to have all A's. I'm not that person. I wasn't that person when I was in school, but I want them to at least try their best, and I'm going to be there as a parent to try to help them as best I can. So I don't agree with enabling these parents that are not responsible parents, so we're just going to dummy down everything because of those few homes that aren't very good. No, why don't somebody step in and maybe help those kids that don't have a good home life? I mean, these teachers are with those kids every day, 5 days a week. I'm sure they can pinpoint which ones are struggling because of their home life. So why dummy down the whole system for those few? When I was going to school, I saw plenty of teachers that stepped in for those unfortunate children. Step in for those unfortunate children and give them a little extra help or whatever they need to, succeed. But we don't dummy down the whole system because of it. Also, you said everything is the teacher's fault. Everything. I mean, even you pointed out, well, I mean, really, if a kid falls asleep in class, is that really on the teachers? Well, their response back was that, yeah, what did we do to make sure that kid did stay awake? What did we do to help that kid stay awake? No, if I had my kids up way too late and didn't get them to bed at a good time, that's on me as a parent, not on the teacher. And that just happened recently, right before that last meeting. We got home really, really late from a dog show, and my kids said they fell asleep in school on Monday. I felt really bad as a parent. Like, I was a terrible parent. They were up way too late for their age. That's on me. That is not on the teachers. If they didn't learn good that day, that is me. That is all on me. So that responsibility needs to get off the teachers and go on to the parents. So this program, I think, is a joke because you are dumbing down the program. You're taking all responsibility off the parents and enabling them, and that is not going to help anybody succeed. Also, another one that was mentioned at that meeting is if a kid doesn't have their school supplies, that's on the teacher. The teachers have to now figure out how to get the kid their school supplies so they can succeed. Well, thank you guys for bringing this program into the school district, because this fall I'm going to save a couple $100 because now I won't get school supplies. The teachers can figure it out because that's what you said. You said it's on them. So if my kids don't have their headphones for the computer, I guess the school can figure out how to get them those $30 headphones. And if they don't have their pencils or crayons or any of that stuff, the school district, I guess, is going to step in and buy all that. Because you said it's on them if they don't have their stuff to get their, school done, work done. That is what was said at the last meeting. So again, we're going to just take on all the responsibility to the schools, got to take on all the responsibility to make sure all these, few hundred kids have all their supplies. That is ridiculous. The parents need to step up and take responsibility for their children they chose to have. So, and there's plenty. You guys have the backpack thing that if they can't afford it, they can come and get their backpack. There's no excuse to not have your supplies. That is not on the teachers. That is on the parents. In this day and age, there are so many different places they can go to get either cheap supplies or almost free supplies. So that is not on the teachers.
Jennifer, your 5 minutes are up. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, just in conclusion, the election is April 5th. So for any parents listening online, make sure we need to flip this board. Dave Bardo, Kristen Matt Miller, and Angie Schreiber are the people you need to vote for so we can get this out. Well, we need to get this program out of our district.
And next up is Carol Bardo.
First off, Dr. Sprague, I want to thank you for the promptly providing the information I asked for. I have had the time to go through all of it once. It was extensive, and I appreciate it.
Carol, will you hold it up a little closer?
Okay, sorry.
It might not be.
Oh. And I can't see out of one eye, so I'm mad at this. And also, I'm not going to look up at you, always my place. Better? Okay. Anyway, I appreciate the information. I've gone through it, and I am going to go over some things in here. But I had to go to a band concert last night, and that was important. Tonight, I'm making a public request for information for all curriculum plans, handouts, worksheets, instructional links, surveys, and a list of videos used to teach all social-emotional learning classes in the Antigo District. And if it's easier for you and you want to email that to me or for me to bring flash drives, I will do that. Just let me know. Here, I can put my email on this. I'm going to give it to you so I don't drop it. Okay. According to the data that you did share, the ESSER 1, 2, and 3 grants are COVID funds. Our district was allotted $7,586,083. My quick review of those itemized data showed, and I'm generalizing because again I've only gone over it once, that the majority of that that money went for temporary staffing, and I'm assuming those positions are going to expire when the funds run out, for technology and for cleaning supplies. This district budget is $30 million, give or take a few. And you add that to the ESSER funds, we are looking at $37.5 million in taxpayers' money. And that's money that you've spent, and from looking at our test results, it's for failure. We rank 414 out of 480 and 20 districts in this state, and that is unacceptable. For 2.5 years, this district administration chose to embrace the ICS equity program for re-educating our teachers. This change was rubber stamped by the majority of this board, and since that implementation, we have seen escalated behaviors. We have seen staffs reporting that their hands were tied to do anything about behaviors, and that's one people have told me this. I am the face of a group of over 600 people, and I am talking to them every day. And these are people on both sides of the aisle politically. These are people on both sides of the aisle, vaccine, masks, and they have one thing in common, and that's their concern about this school district. So, this is something that I know from a firsthand standpoint in terms of reports. We are seeing burnout. You guys alluded to that, but yet our achievements are toileting. And on a side note to that, yesterday my daughter got a notice for your little survey about starting next year, you want to reduce teacher-student instruction by 1 hour every week. That's going to total to reducing the instructional time to 4.5 days in that year when we are already failing. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I've spent the last 6 months researching and reviewing ICS equity, critical race theory. And I have to be very honest with you, ICS equity is just laced with critical race theory, and it's a flawed theory. If you want to go into years and years of research where critical race came from, where critical theory came from, they came from Marxism. And if that's a direction that we want to take with our children, my concerns are even more heightened. I'm going to conclude this now because I don't want to be called for time, but I need to remind you, these 9 people sitting at this table are administrator's boss. And under the leadership of you, Mr. Mary, you have rubber stamped every bit of this mess. I'm hoping that this is out of ignorance and you have not researched this program, so therefore you can learn and be flexible and improve it. But if that's not the case, and the majority of the board is just following a blind adherence to left political agenda, I'm ashamed of you. The price tag for that is our children's future. And I'm truly disappointed in you for choosing this ICS equity, because it is not in our children's best interest. I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. And next up is Angie Schreiber.
Hi. So I wanted to talk to you today about a grant that I came across. It is the Department of Workforce Development application for the expanded Wisconsin Fast Forward Technical Education Equipment Grant Program. And I'm pretty sure that the district, no one in the district has heard of this. I called in and talked to Mary Kay earlier today, and she had not heard of it. What it is through the Department of Workforce Development, where school districts can apply to for a grant from $5,000 to $50,000 to train students in technical fields. So the money is used to advance manufacturing tools and equipment, helps students transition from high school into the workforce by supporting technical education, reduces higher education costs by providing dual enrollment credits, industry endorsed certificates, and technical endorsements on high school diplomas. And one interesting fact I found is that there's no requirement for a match. So this is something that is a pretty big deal. This would pair very nicely with our Fab Lab. We could bring in our local manufacturers and build a working relationship with them to fill their job openings. So this is a huge opportunity for us, and I think we should definitely take it. I've sent around a piece of paper for you guys to take a look at. So that's the news announcement, and just a couple of things that they have. They awarded in, I believe it was 2019, to schools, high schools. So a a lathe, fusion laser, excuse me. And a lot of this stuff, I don't have a clue what it is. And I could pass this around as well, and so you guys can take a look at it. Maybe you guys know what this is. But a lot of equipment that, you know, where these kids can get certified and basically walk into a job that is very good paying. On average, the manufacturing jobs that they'd be walking into pay about, in 2017, the census said $70,000. So, I mean, that is amazing. Right out of high school, my goodness. I have the information, the program announcement and everything that would be needed to apply for this, I can give to Amy. I believe, is that who this should go to? Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. I mean, for bringing this forward.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions. Okay.
Thank you. Sounds like a good opportunity. Okay, we will go on to student report. All right.
So we started our new quarter on Monday, and we are still continuing the no pass protocol, so we still can't go in the hallways. But we are seeing that some teachers are letting kids go, and Mr. Rogers did speak on that, telling teachers that they need to continue that. And today, during 8th hour, one of the commons bathrooms was locked again. There's a Winter Wonders social on February 5th where families can explore the Neboken School Forest, and activities include snowshoeing, survival skills, snow painting, and more. There is fast bridge testing this week, the 26th and 27th for the kids. Winter ball for sophomores is this Saturday at the middle school. There's softball open gym starting this in February. And rehearsals for the high school musical The Little Mermaid have started. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Tori? Okay, thank you. We will go on to consent agenda. Somebody'd like to make a motion?
I move the board approve the agenda minutes from December 14, 2021, Board of Education meeting, January 17, 2022, special meeting minutes, financial reports for November, consideration of bills, check number 5307 through 5393 in the amount of $390,822.45, ACH number 212200440 through 212200546 in the amount of $699,902.78, and one wire transfer in the amount of $14,165.25 for a total of $1,104,890.48. Financial reports for December, consideration of current bills, check numbers 5394 through 5501 in the amounts of $184,148.06. ACH numbers 212200547 through 212200675 in the amount of $747,514.67, and one wire transfer in the amount of $20,174.77 for a total of $951,837.50.
President Mary, I need to abstain on two checks, 5366 and 5454.
Okay, thank you. Would somebody like to make a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Then we'll go ahead with the roll call.
Bartle,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Maddox Nelson,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Hyatt,
yes,
Schrader,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. And we'll go on to the COVID update.
The only information I have tonight is accessible to everyone on our website, and that is the dashboard. We were watching, well, at least I was, the percentage for the district total, and we're just over 2% now. Continue to but have updates from Nurse Jansen each day, and she's doing the best she can to keep up. And I, again, want to commend teachers for covering for each other. We even are deploying some to make sure we are go here at the middle school tomorrow. So thanks to everyone for pitching in.
Okay? Any questions or comments on that? And we'll go on to new business, and item A is approved committee of the whole minutes from January 11th, 2022.
I move the board approve the minutes from the committee of the whole meeting on January 11th, 2022.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And we'll go on to item B, policy manual review, the 8,000s operations. And we all had an opportunity to read them. Does anybody have any comments or questions on those?
I do actually. Our team found a number of areas that we would like to recommend revisions, so they just aren't ready for tonight. Mary Kay and I will be working with Neola again, and then when those revisions are ready, they'll come to you for approval.
And what kind of revisions are these?
There were, in operations, we found one for the volunteer policy, multiple throughout the 8,000 series.
Okay, thank you. Then we will go on to board action, and item A is consideration to approve the open enrollment special education seats for 2022-2023.
I move the board approve the open enrollment special education seats for 2022-2023 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second. I second it.
Any questions or comments on those? We talked about this at committee of the whole. Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we will go on to item B, consideration to adopt non-negotiables. Somebody like to make a motion?
I move the board adopt the district non-negotiables as presented at the December 14th, 2021 Board of Education meeting.
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments on this?
We did, the last two we can review communications. Internal coaches, Carlene Kemp and Chris Robinson, reached out to the board with a message. They were happy to answer any questions, and I'm happy to report we didn't field any, so.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
Would these non-negotiables replace the 7 collective commitments listed under our vision statement?
No.
Okay. Would they be included within the mission or vision?
Well, the mission and vision were recently approved, so it's kind of a whole package deal of operating principles, but the board did approve mission and vision already.
Okay, any other questions? Then we'll go ahead with a roll call, Mary Kay.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Maddox Nelson,
No.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Hyatt,
no,
Schrader,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Bardo,
No.
Mary,
Yes. Okay, so that passes. We'll go on to consideration to purchase new band uniforms.
I think there's the amended budget.
budget.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Consideration to approve the amended budget for 2021, 2022.
I move the board approve the amended 2021-2022 budget as presented with total expenditures in all funds being $35,670,819.47.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Tim had a memo here for us, and we went over this at the COW meeting. Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Maddox Nelson,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Hyatt,
yes,
Schrader,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Bardo,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. And now we'll go on to item D, consideration to purchase new band uniform.
Point of order. Before I make a motion, I'd like Austin to, we've ended up with some additional information. So I know there's 2 bids for shoes and 2 bids for uniforms. And so I'd like him to at least tell us what he's hoping for.
Sure, you want me to come up?
Yes, please.
So what I included in the board doc is, so there's 2 different quotes in there. One is for 105 uniforms, one is for 120 uniforms, and then the 2 shoes are just the same numbers, 105 and 120. So each of the 105, 120 uniforms are itemized to the jacket, the bibbers, which are the pants, and then the shako and the plume, which is the marching hat and the feathery thing on top. And then it includes gloves as well. So it's all itemized in there. And then, the more uniforms that we can get, the better. If we can get more uniforms, we can rotate them so they can even last more than what we anticipate them being able to last for. And if our numbers continue to grow as they have been the past couple of years, more uniforms would help. Instead of having to, order more and buy for 10 years. So that's kind of why I threw both of those in there. If you have any questions about them, I'm happy to answer, but that's all the information that's in there.
Were the shoes there before?
So they weren't there before, no, but I figured I'd throw them in there for fun. We have boxes of shoes, and if you open them, I wear earplugs every time, to be honest with you. So if we can get them, that'd be great.
And then what? They'd be used over and over?
Yes, but then if we were to get 120 new shoes, I'd find a different organization system that we currently have for them and not the current one we have.
How long do you plan on, how long do you think the shoes are gonna?
I couldn't give you a number on that, but if we order 105 shoes, I'd imagine not every kid's gonna be the same size, and you can clean them and reuse them with sprays and sanitizing and all that stuff. So.
Would they have the option of using their own shoes?
No, so marching band shoes are very specific in how the heel is constructed. So it's more of like an even circle shape on the back of the heel for a proper marching style. So it's not like someone could just bring in a pair of Nikes or Hey Dudes and march in those.
In case the board is wondering, the fees list is uploaded there because sporadically throughout my time here, we've had limited conversation about our fee structure. And you'll see a lot of zeros in there. We have done away with some fees, but it goes really to the question about charging fees to students and for what reason and what purpose. So personally and professionally, and I know I have many colleagues who agree, we'd like to revisit that with the board sometime. I always think it's a summer project to really look at that, but we did have one meeting already this year. And then secondly, it's a big decision that the board will make tonight. And I certainly support Austin and I support marching band, but we wanted you to see the estimated costs. You know, if the board chooses to support marching band, then will the board also support covering the cost of other activities and athletics? So there is a sampling. Not every coach was able to contribute to that doc in time for the upload, but there's a sampling of really the kind of money that we're talking about in addition to marching band.
Well, I am going to make a motion, but I'm glad you put the fees in there, and I agree we should address it at some point. I would hope that if we approve this motion that I'll make, that we will go down the road with athletics, that we at least look at funding uniforms. And I would hope that Mr. Schofield would provide us in the near future with a 5-year rotation for uniforms for all the sports, so that we can see what we would be spending approximately each year in that 5-year cycle. And I want to remind the board that as we go forward into next year, looking at possibly funding the uniforms for our athletic teams, we're going to have $180,000 freed up, because this is the last year that we're paying off debt. We will have monies that we can use for, let's say, uniforms, a new math curriculum, and a new English language curriculum, and that'll probably take care of pretty close to $180,000. But it would be good for the district. So I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to try to make Austin and the band kids really happy. And my motion is that we buy 120 uniforms at $54,607.20 and shoes 120 at $4,544 for a total of $59,161.20.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave, you made the motion. Do you have any more to say on it?
Well,
I think you said quite a bit.
I'm sure that the school district bought the set of uniforms we have 20-some years ago. And as I've said since the last meeting, I believe that it's a responsibility of the school board to purchase uniforms for our athletics and for the band. And if there are other clubs or whatever that have uniforms or whatever, we should take care of it. And the other thing is simply, they're going to the Rose Bowl parade, and they really shouldn't be wearing 23 to 24-year-old uniforms marching down with a group of the other 8 high schools. They need to look good. They need to be good representatives, not only for our school district, but for our town. And so that's why I put it forward.
Okay. Tim, can you tell us how those uniforms were purchased 25 years ago?
Andy, I can tell you the last one was when I talked to Jacob Oxley about choir rooms, and they raised funds for this.
So this would have been when the choir went to New York, and they raised the funds for their robes. And Austin, were you going to tell me who purchased the uniforms?
Yeah, so at the high school, there's a giant plaque. This is kind of where I got my sponsorship idea for local businesses for just the trip itself. There's a plaque, and it says whatever year that the marching band uniforms were purchased, and different businesses and organizations that donated to the new marching band uniforms last time they were purchased. It's still in the high school lunchroom, so if you ever want to go take a peek at it, there's a huge list of sponsors and donors that donated to the last purchase of marching band uniforms. I don't know how much each person donated, but the list is there.
Okay, and so some of those uniforms have names in them, names of businesses, as
Yep.
they would have bought a uniform.
Yeah, like Co-Vantage donated the last time that they purchased marching band uniforms, and I just remember going through all of them and seeing Co-Vantage Cares donated this uniform, so they're so good.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
You know, I think what happened was there was some years ago where a lot of, the board needed to trim down the budget by a substantial amount. And there was a lot of talk about eliminating extracurriculars. And there was, there was a lot of feedback from the community and from the students and the parents about not wanting that. And I think that was the time when the booster clubs started forming and picking up the extra costs. And if we've got this money that, when this loan is paid off, I think it's great, and I would love to see everything paid for. I just want to make sure that once we start, we can afford to continue, even to get through the first round. And, not have to, after taking care of X number, and then there's still more, and then we run into a snag with the budget that, you understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Austin, is the money that was already, you already have money collected, correct? From the butter braids and the popcorn and all the things I already purchased? Times 2?
You can purchase butter braids in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, I already heard, yeah.
Fair warning. So the butter braids and the popcorn fundraisers that we already did were fundraisers that went towards the student cost of the trip.
Oh,
So
the cost
that
of the
money,
trip, okay.
It's about $15,000 right now that students put towards their individual trip cost. So that money isn't going towards the purchase of materials at all.
Okay.
So I believe our band boosters, they've been working really hard. I think they have about $6,000 in their bank account.
Okay, all right.
I just want to point out, I appreciate you sharing if your numbers continue to go up. That's really exciting to hear, because I know a lot of our co-curriculars, we struggle with our numbers. So that's really exciting, and I appreciate that you shared that.
Yeah.
So I just have a question about fees. And what do fees go for? Like at the high school, there's a $20 fee. What do we do with that? And is there a fee at the middle school and the elementary level also?
So
I don't think at the elementary
essentially, the statutes allow us to charge a book rental fee. So historically, the district has used those funds to offset in the rotation of replacing textbooks. So it goes into the general fund. So we charge an $8 elementary user fee, or book fee, then I believe it's 16 at the middle school and 20 at the high school.
What about athletic fees?
I wish Tom was here to verify it, but I believe it's $30 at the middle school and $30 at the high school per sport.
Per sport?
Is it 50 at the high school? And
Lord.
There's a $5 intramural fee at the middle school.
Okay, so where does that, Their athletic fees. So if you've got a kid that 3 sports, that's $150. Where does that?
I believe there's a cap on it.
Okay, but where does that money go?
It all goes into the general fund to support all of the services that we provide our students.
So I just want to go back to that feed for
Yeah.
books. You said that's for books. So over the last 15 years, have we spent that every year on books?
Andy, I don't know that. We don't, it's not like a checkbook, a separate checkbook in and out for that. It gets deposited in our general operating checkbook where we write all of our expenses for operating the district out of it. I'm thinking, you know, when you look at the cost of a textbook adoption, you know, we haven't done one in a number of years, but when we do, it's, you know, $200,000 for a K-12 adoption of a curriculum. 275,000, I think, was the last time we did one.
Mm-hmm. So that would eat up that 180,000 that Dave was talking about pretty quickly.
If it's a comprehensive adoption, correct.
So, you know, I look at this and I think the band is great and it'd be nice for them to go in new uniforms, but I also think that, you know, I guess we can charge every family $20 for their kid and they'll pay it. But should we be charging them $20? And then I've been on the board in those years where we're just trying to balance the budget and you're cutting the teacher's aid and you're cutting this and you're not buying those new books. You're not doing anything for the curriculum. And while we have lots of money now, you know, I'm flush, I'm not a drunk sailor. And so I think we're going to go back to those days where we don't have lots of money and we're going to be pressed. And so while we have money now, I think we should think about how we're spending it. And I would love to see us not have all these fundraisers for kids and not have families and kids, essentially they're paying for the uniforms. But on the other side, if we didn't have the booster clubs doing this over the last 10 years, we would have had to cut something. I mean, I think it's more kids from economically disadvantaged families would be out in clubs and sports if we didn't charge fees, but really we have something going on. We haven't cut them. And people have been very generous in supporting those things. And I think if I was going to vote for the new band uniforms, I would want to see a more comprehensive plan coming from administration, and including all the uniforms for all the sports, and you know, maybe other things. What do we think those sports need? But also clubs. And you know, what does it take to get a club going? If we said, oh, we're going to give every club $5,000, well, to get a club going, it's hard. Maybe we got to give new clubs more money. But I would like to see a plan on that before I would approve this motion that Dave made tonight. Because I've sat on this board where we do things piecemeal. This month we approve something. And by the time you get to May or June there's something comes along and you'd like to really approve it, but you've already spent the money on other things. So that's my 2 bits. I'm not going to support this until I see a better plan.
Andy, I would agree. I struggle with that too, with a comprehensive plan. And I just think this is a bigger discussion, which makes me feel bad. You know, initially it's focused on the band uniforms, which I fully support that. That need is there. And I think they have done an exceptional job and their numbers rise, and I want to support that entirely. My feedback in terms of fees, which is where I say I think this is certainly a bigger discussion, is I look at things like art medals, and then autos 1, autos 2, basic auto, like, there's a lot of fees involved for students to take classes, and that's a separate fees discussion, because it's not co-curriculars, this is simply 745 to 308 or whatever it is, cost to attend school.
We
So-
echo that sentiment, which is why we want an overhaul.
Because regardless of socioeconomic status, if you have a kid who has those interests, there's easily $45 there, just in one semester class, one semester with class fees, specific to the subject. So I'm just sharing feedback that I would love to have further discussion. I don't want to sidetrack from the need and the discussion of the band uniforms that I support, and I think the needs there and it's well deserved.
Austin, do you have a timeline of when that the order should be placed and they get here and everybody, make sure they fit and what's the timeline like when they need to be ordered?
So I'll answer this in two parts. So technically, I could order them in April. Timolin Brothers is having a price increase starting on February 15th.
Of course they are.
I'm really not making that up just so I can.
No, I believe you.
But they are having a price increase, and they told me February 1st, and I told them they were having this meeting, and they pushed me to February 15th. So, that two-part answer.
How much is the increase?
They didn't tell me.
How many students are in band currently?
So currently 8-12, I have about 80 kids in band.
And it's going up pretty much every year?
Yeah, so in retrospect, this graduating class this year, I have 4 seniors, and then next year is my first class of, I've had them since freshman year, and I have 16 seniors that year. And I don't see them dropping next year, so if I can continue that growth, I'm hoping, for good things.
So if you only got 105 uniforms and say it increases and you need more, in a few years, can you get the same exact matching uniforms?
I can, yep.
Okay. So we could keep adding to it.
The price might be different.
What?
The price might change.
Yeah.
But the way Dave brought this up was not just band, but you're bringing up other sports, other activities, which.
I was looking for that discussion at a later time,
Okay.
but
But
I
the thing
made
is
my
not-
feelings.
Right, no, I understand why you
Yeah.
brought it up, but I think, when you bring up band, then you have, you got to treat all sports, all activities the same. So if you're going down the slippery slope, then you probably need to have something planned for all those other activities, because you don't want our athletes to say that, just because I'm not in the marching band, I don't get a uniform or I don't get a helmet or things like that, so.
Julie, is it possible to have something put together by the cow meeting? Or is this like a,
Well, in regard to uniforms, which is what Dave mentioned, I would say yes. That fee discussion after one meeting, it is
That's
so
big.
comprehensive, that I would say no. But uniforms, most likely, yes, we could have some information. Doesn't help with Austin's,
no, but the.
the 15th.
15th.
Or can we reach out to them and ask them for an extension until March 1st or something?
I can definitely do that. I can ask.
So can we table this, or what do you say, JD?
Andy, would it make you feel better if we were gonna buy every sport uniforms all at once? Because then at least we make it through one round. Or is it still, we're wasting the money because we really might need it in 3 years when we run out of CARES money? I do remember the days we sat here and would not have let new clubs start because we would not give them a cent.
But that was why I said a 5-year rotation.
Well,
So that the uniforms that are most needed next year would be in year 1, and the ones that were bought this year would be in year 5. So it would be up to the athletic director to give us, because the idea is that you're buying them every 5 years, and you buy a varsity basketball uniforms, they go to the JV. And the JVs go to the freshman team, and they're good for 15 years.
But I'm just thinking of like swim, boys and girls swim. You are not gonna pass those swimsuits. You're not passing those down.
Well, and we aren't passing
No,
football
but that's, so
cleats
that would be, and you know.
baseball cleats and.
Yeah, so who's buying those? Are the students buying them?
Parents have always bought those.
Okay,
So
so,
why
I'm
should-
talking uniforms.
Yeah, but the swimsuits are their uniforms.
I understand that.
you just made a motion for shoes. So if you're
I
gonna
know.
buy shoes for the band, you're gonna buy shoes for the football team.
And baseball and basketball and.
I didn't say that.
Fins.
That's part of
You
it.
didn't say that. I'm saying,
Flippers.
Okay,
to be fair, if you're gonna buy shoes for the band, buy shoes for everybody.
Well,
well then,
Are
make
the
a
sh-
motion that takes away the shoes. You guys have all kinds of power. All you have to do is, you can make a motion to table. You can make a motion to only buy 105 uniforms. You can make motions to what I did. When you make a motion, it's to get a discussion going.
Yep,
And
That's what we're having.
yep, that's what we're having.
can
I would just say, you know, JD, you asked if I would feel better if we bought all uniforms for all the teams here this year, or even as you suggested, for the next 5 years. But you know, the band uniforms, this is more like a 20-year thing. And choir robes are more like a 20-year thing. And so if we're willing to make a commitment to the other teams, sports that need uniforms, whatever equipment they need for the next 20 years, I'm all for that. But I just know that if I go back 10 years, there was no money, and I have this feeling that if we go forward 5 years, we're gonna be really short on money again. And, you know, we can do like other districts have done and say, okay, we're running this referendum. If you don't vote yes, we're gonna cut band, we're gonna cut football, we're gonna cut, and we haven't done that. But a big part of why we haven't done that is the booster clubs. People have stepped up and said, no, we really like football, we're gonna support this. The Gridiron Club just redid Schofield Stadium, and it was $46,000, very similar to what the band uniforms cost. And that's a capital expenditure, just like band uniforms. And so somewhere here we have to come up with a system where we're being equitable to all. And even these fees, you know, this $20 fee or $15 at the middle school, that's $25,000 a year. And should we be paying that for all kids? Or should we be buying uniforms for part of the kids? And I think it's great that kids are in band, it's a good thing. I think if we could do something to get all kids involved in something, that would be great. But where the district is spending money, we should look at how we can do that. Any other comments here?
Just a clarifying question, Austin, are the band shoes specific to the uniform? Like, in my experience with the sports I played, we would have team shoes, but we elected to purchase those shoes. Many people have preferences on what they like, but it wasn't part of the uniform, so to speak, where when I think marching band, it's
Black
uniform,
shoes.
it's pretty stellar from the top to the bottom, you know, it's very coordinated. So a student could purchase their own from this company, but you need matching shoes across the board, correct? Or am I understanding that wrong?
Yeah, as long as they order a marching band shoe and it's all black, that it doesn't have to be this one.
Okay.
That's why I threw it in there separately. It's not a part of this specific marching band uniform, but it would be nice.
What are we gonna do?
Well, Dave outlined all our options. You can make,
I know,
you
we
can
have
make
a
a
lot of
motion
options.
to amend his motion.
Can you
We-
show the motion again?
Did you
Okay.
have the numbers written down? I didn't get the totals.
The totals based on 120 were $54,677.20, and the shoes were $4,554. The total was $59,161.20.
Tim, when you were talking about the last curriculum money we spent, was that the Lucy Calkins, the 250,000 or whatever it was? Or were you thinking of something else?
I just recall discussions with Cindy Fisher, and when we looked at, this is gonna be years ago, when they looked at science and math and adopted those curriculums the last time. It was in that neighborhood.
Can we use that CARES money on a curriculum?
Yes.
Yeah. These are, right, which is what we kind of talked about at one point, of exploring the COVID funding for curriculum purchases.
Get too much COVID on these band uniforms, can this grants cover that? Too much COVID on all the uniforms, got the new ones, got the money, doesn't wash off, right?
So I might ask Amy, are we working towards buying new curriculums, getting new, with our CARES money?
So the money is over multiple years. So right now, this year, we have social studies and science going through a curriculum protocol, as well as our high school ELA, just starting that process this spring. But then we're also going to get into some more for K-5 and K-8 programming. Then we're also always adding to and adjusting what we have in place for other ones with smaller purchases. So last year, we made smaller purchases for foundational reading skills, on some learning our teachers did. We're building our systems of intervention so that we have consistent resources across all of our schools, because we were very sporadic in what we had available at each of our schools. So that's how we've been using our funds just this 1 year that I've been in the role. So yes, we do have a portion of that earmarked.
Okay,
And I think in the planning document, we've got, Amy, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 250,000 allocated for the ESSER two funds each this year and next year for strictly for updating curriculum.
Say that again, 250,000 for when? In the next 2 years each?
Each.
Just from my past experience on the board, I think that's appropriate, because we went lots of years where we talked about upgrading curriculum but never did it. And, where do we want our focus to be? Do we want it to be on curriculum and student achievement, or do we want it to be on co-curriculars? Somewhere there, I think there's got to be a balance. So,
I enjoy the discussion about curriculum. I've asked for that to be put on the agenda and discussed, and what that looks like for our district and what we're doing and talking about. I just don't want to get sidetracked on that right now, because I feel like it is not directly tied into the current motion on the floor. Directly and indirectly related.
So in the past, when a coach is requesting funding for uniforms, what have we helped with? Because I've coached 2 high school sports that got no help from the school.
I think there was a time that the school paid for uniforms, and it really, it probably started before I was on the board, but things were just so tight. I'm sure we said, we're not gonna buy those uniforms, just keep using the old ones. And people said, well, they're really bad, we're gonna fundraise for new ones. And it just started, the booster clubs kind of took control of that, and they've done it. And I know they buy uniforms, they buy balls, pucks, lots of stuff, and I believe the hospital makes like a donation to football to buy better helmets. So our community is very generous. It's, you know, and I hate to say, well, let's just wait for somebody to make a donation. But that's kind of how we've been running, and I'm all for switching from that. But because we have money now, I just think we got to take a little better look at where we want to spend that. We just had one of the speakers here in public comment complaining that our test scores are so low, and I agree with that. What can we do to raise our test scores? And I say, I can make the argument, oh, buy new band uniforms. It'll get more kids interested in music. Music is a good thing because it helps with math scores. But I'm not sure that's the best way to raise our curriculum, our test scores. Because we only have so much money here, even though it looks like we got a lot of money this year. Jake's sitting there smiling at me, and if I said, oh, Jake, where would you spend $50,000?
Don't ask Jake.
He might say, oh, on hockey uniforms, but I doubt it.
It's unfortunate that that we're sitting here talking about one or the other, because I still think that the athletics and the music and the arts all tie into academic achievement. And you're right. I mean, I wish we could buy everything. We need new curriculums. We just can't, we have to draw a line. I mean, we're not a bottomless money pit, and I don't know where we're going to do that or how we're going to do that. I so want to purchase these band uniforms, or a portion, or I don't know.
If we only bought 10, would we be helping you at all?
Mr. Mary, I'd like to call a previous question on this order of business on the floor.
Okay. Do we have a consensus to call the question? If we don't have a consensus, I'll ask that we vote on calling the question.
The discussion's gotten completely out of hand. You're not talking about band uniforms, you're talking about everything else but.
Danny, you asked to call the question, and that's what I'm working on. I don't hear a consensus, so Mary Kay, do a roll call vote to call the question.
Betty Nelson,
Yes.
Neufeld,
Yes.
Hyatt,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pardo,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes. Okay. Go ahead with the roll call vote on the motion.
Neufeld,
Is this on purchasing the band uniforms?
Yep, 59,161.
Okay, come back to me. Please.
Hyatt,
Yes.
Schrader,
No.
Zimmerman,
No.
Pardo,
Yes.
Deep,
No.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Betty Nelson,
No.
Mary,
No.
Neufeld,
No for now. I mean, can we use that time? I'm not doing it right. No.
No.
I'd like more information though. I mean, I'd like to do a comparison thing.
Yeah, since we,
Well, you
I
can-
will
if
work
the-
with.
If the chair indulges you, you can ask for that.
I mean, I don't want it to be a done deal. I'd like to. Well, see, that would have been easier
So
to table it.
the motion doesn't pass, but Julie, I think what we're hearing here
For
from
right
the
now.
board is we would like to have more information on
Other things.
The
when you
cost
say
for
that,
other-
just uniforms, is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing for now? Fees is a larger discussion. Okay.
No,
Because-
that's
because-
not what
Let's go
I'm
with
saying.
uniforms
Okay.
for
I'm
right
saying
now.
we should be discussing fees.
Together,
First-
because it might be better to spend the money there than it is to spend it on uniforms.
I think we should be discussing fees first, because I totally agree with Jill here that if somebody's in tech classes and, they shouldn't have to pay. I don't know that we charge kids for chemistry or biology things.
So then when we're doing the fees, we're doing athletic fees also, that would be part of the fees?
That would be part of fees.
I mean, can we do it where it's fees and it's also uniforms, so that way, I don't wanna do one first and then second, I would prefer to, like, we are discussing them, right? Cause I'm taking it as you wanna talk about fees first and then, you know, like,
No, it's a comprehensive assessment
Thank
of
you.
everything,
that's what I'm.
but it's almost like
clarifying.
a full meeting that you are devoting to that, when you're bringing up all those issues. You have
But we
to
can't get
dedicate
it done by
a lot of time
15.
to that, to have an honest discussion.
The best thing would be if the administration brought us a recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we can't
That
find,
means we can change it.
Well,
We need
yeah,
a recommendation.
yeah, I think we need a starting
And that's
point.
where Andy started with, was we needed a recommendation from administration on this issue.
so when you're thinking, if we had a 20-year plan, we can't bind a future board though, right? So you were just
Nope.
thinking like, so when you're thinking, oh, we buy a couple of uniforms every year for every sport, but
You're right,
If
it would
things
be a
change
great,
in the future, then you probably have to
yeah,
let go, like you did 10 years ago.
yes.
If the circumstances warrant, you might have to renegade on your,
I mean, that's how we got to fees. Yeah, that's how we got to fees.
have we been doing fees, student fees, for a long time? Don't remember.
I think for a long time, but maybe not forever.
I mean, for like 30 years or for like 15?
Well, we paid them when we were in high school.
I can't remember.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm only 20 years old,
Yeah.
but.
I don't even remember that.
Did you have fees?
Can we include participation numbers in those, sports and co-curriculars? When we look at this, I just like look at projections and our numbers going up, down. When we talk 20 years, I'm thinking at the context of that is because the last time the band uniforms were purchased were 20 years ago, but I'm guessing that likely no other co-curriculars had to wait 20 years to get new uniforms. So it's also not necessarily a 20-year plan. So I just, numbers would be helpful, participation.
A couple of years ago, did we have an e-sport team? Did they want to do that? Did we allow that or did we deny them? Because they needed money to buy video games or something.
I don't think we have an e-sport.
Did anybody remember that? E-sport team? No?
And I don't think we have an e-sport team. And that was my point, that if somebody wants to form a new club, do we give them twice as much money? Because it's hard to form a new club.
Okay, so Julie, is it gonna be possible to get all,
We'll do our best.
all of this before the,
Information on fees and uniforms with numbers of participation.
before the COW meeting, which would be before the 15th of
Mhm.
February? Okay. And
Okay.
Austin, don't think that, like, we're just shooting this down. You got that?
Yeah.
Well, good, because there just needs to be more discussion. Okay.
Okay, we will go on to item E, consideration to approve a coronavirus grant stipend.
I move the board approve a coronavirus grant stipend for current teachers and support staff who were USDA staff during the 2020-21 school year. The following stipend, $500 for full-time teachers and support staff and $250 for part-time teachers and support staff to be paid by April 1st, 2022. Furthermore, current teachers and support staff who are USDA staff during the 2021 school year, 21-22 school year shall receive the following stipend: $500 for full-time teachers and support staff, and $250 for part-time teachers and support staff to be paid by June 30th, 2022.
Second?
We've been
Mr.
talking.
Mayor, I need to recuse myself from discussion as well as the vote. If Mayor Kay could please reflect that.
Stuck, because I
I'll
had
make
one
that
for
note.
Mary Kay. Is there two? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Danny.
I remember from the previous meeting when Tim brought this up, and one of the questions I asked was about new teachers, because he had said, because of all the hard work that our staff had done over the past 2 years, and I agree, they've been under more stress than normal, pre-COVID. And I said, were new teachers this year going to be getting the same amount? And he said yes. And I've heard the word equitable here tonight. I've heard it in the past, and I'm presenting an equitable motion, because I don't think it's fair that our teachers who worked here last year and this year get the same amount of money as someone who just came here this year for their first year. So what I'm saying is we will give a $1,000 stipend, as Tim said, to our teachers and our full-time support staff, 500 of it to be paid for last year prior to April 1st. Part-timers 250, also April 1st. And then those teachers, all current teachers this year, get a $500 stipend at by June 30th, the end of our school district timeline, and part-timers get $250. So that's my reasoning, is because new teachers came here with, they were offered salaries, they knew that's what they were going to get, and at the same time, we're giving our teachers from last year a $500, but then they're getting the extra $5 this year, while new teachers get $5. So that's my position.
Dave,
And I
can
think
I
it's
just-
more,
Could I ask just a
and
clarifying
I think it's
question?
more equitable.
If a teacher left the district voluntarily last year, are they eligible for the stipend for essentially last year's work?
Well, that's something we could talk about. I just took it that those people are here this entire school year, and were here the entire school year last year. They get 500 and 500.
Just based on the wording of your motion, you would say the current ones from last year are still current.
Yes.
Only get the money.
No,
Yes.
but the
Yes.
way,
Last year.
the first motion is read, it says who were USDA staff.
And
So
still
that goes-
employed.
But it says
You don't
current.
say that.
It says current, so I'm taking it as they're
Current?
currently employed,
Yes.
Who
not,
were
not that
Currently
year left.
employed who were employed last
Yes.
year.
Yeah.
And then the second part of it is the current, all current employees.
So,
And to me, that's the most equitable way to do it. So that our teachers
still the
from
same
last
money.
year who are still here
Will still
get $1,000, as Tim had put out there, and our
Support staff or part-time staff.
same thing, 500, if it's a full-time staff, support staff member, they get their 500 if they were here both years.
Okay, I have a question from our discussion last week about staffing issues. I know it was at the high school, and I'm not sure about the middle school, but if you covered for a teacher, let's say, Jill was coaching a sport and she had to leave at 1:45 in the afternoon, and Angel was covering, had a free period, so she covered. she was reimbursed hourly wage.
Correct?
Okay, is that still happening? Does that
Yes.
happen at the middle school too?
Yes.
And what about elementary?
We try. It's different though because
was
they
hard.
have far less prep. But I know with our principals, we're trying now.
Okay, so they're when they're trying to cover, when they're being compensated for the covering, okay. All right,
It's currently at $16 class, very minimal.
right.
And we've had teachers say, so we're looking at that fee structure too, but or stipend structure. We've had teachers say, losing my prep isn't worth that.
$16.
But they still do it
Right,
because they want to help their colleagues.
right. See, we never knew how to, like, if we didn't have a art or a phy ed teacher, because they were half-hour time slots or 40-minute time slots for art, we didn't know how to get compensated. It was like kind of a hassle, so we just never put in for it. Okay. So,
Okay, any more discussion on the motion that's on the floor?
I just wanna verify that would include like custodial staff, kitchen staff. That's not, maybe I should say it this way. It's not excluding any staff.
that would be supports. Yeah. It would
Just
be,
wanna
yeah.
make sure.
right, right,
Cause I feel like that might be a question
yeah.
following the vote of does it include or exclude? So I just wanna make sure it's clear.
And it's current, so those people who have been working and resigned already, not getting it. Okay. Any other questions, comments before we take a vote here? And go ahead. Mary Kay, were you gonna say something?
No.
No, okay, go ahead, Mary Kay.
Danny Pike has recused himself from the vote. Schrader,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Bardo,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Maddox Nelson,
Yes.
Neufeld,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes. We'll go on to item F, consideration to approve LED lighting upgrade at the Antigo High School.
I move the board approve the bid from NC LED Lighting for LED lighting update at the Antigo High School in the amount of $325,854.
I'll second.
Jake, just tell us again for the audience this week how much money you thought we'd save a year?
So initially the focus on energy rebate is $32,740. So we'll get that off, I already calculated that off the project price, so their bid is the $350,000, but when you take that off, that comes up to the $325. That has lighting, emergency lighting, exit lights in there too, so I just want to be clear that that 32 is not an addition, but I just want the board to know that we are getting that in a rebate right away. Energy consumption savings, the projections that they have are $44,000 a year. I know that that's going to be a little bit higher because we have some efficiencies that we manually do throughout the day or automatically do throughout the day, which is hard to fully encapsulate when you're talking about minutes of use. We try to get somewhat accurate, but more towards the worst case scenario of energy use versus trying to say that we don't use as much. That helps us with energy incentives and stuff like that, and it's just hard to really nail it down because activities in the Balm, activities in the field house vary all the time, and to really put a solid minute figure on that is next to impossible. So those are some assumptions as far as the $44,000, but that's what they've calculated.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Then we'll go ahead with the roll call vote, Mary Kay.
Schrader,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Bardo,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Medic Nelson,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Hyatt,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes. And item G, consideration to approve partial roof replacement at the Anago Middle School.
I move the board approve the quote from Commercial Roofing for partial roof replacement at Annual Middle School in the amount of $218,433.
Second.
Any questions or comments on this? We discussed it at the COW, so we'll just go ahead with the roll call vote.
Zimmerman,
Oh.
There's only one.
Yes.
Bardo,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Medic Nelson,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Hyatt,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes. Moving on to item H, consideration to approve asbestos abatement at the Anago Middle School.
Move the board approve the quote from Environmental Plant Services for asbestos abatement at the Annual Middle School in the amount of $33,360.
Second.
is that, I'm sorry, is that your job? Thank you.
Questions or comments on this?
Jake, I think you told us before, but how many more asbestos spots we got to go after this one? That larger?
We have approximately two areas. One is in the two-story, a classroom on the second floor, and then there's one over by it's kind of the corner of the northwest corner of the old gym area. There's like a band area up there that still has asbestos tile. Both of those are still in good shape, and just the relativity of location and setup, I didn't want to include it with the project. We're taking a pretty big bite right now, so I didn't want to add that. For this summer's workload reasons and for the fact that they're so detached from the remainder of the project. This main project is in the three-story, and that will finish that entire building, so
And the elementary buildings are done?
those are all done. So I think, I'm not gonna ever say ever, but
Oh, yeah.
there's, to my knowledge, only two places with asbestos left, and those are the two I just cited.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Again, a roll call vote.
Bardo,
Yes.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Medic Nelson,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Hyatt,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes. And we'll go on to item I, report of district new hires.
I move the board approve the new hire of Kevin Bradley, North Elementary custodian, and Cindy Walrath, interventionist at West Elementary. And it's nice to see somebody's willing to come back.
Second it. Second, yeah.
Okay, any questions or comments there? Okay, roll call on that too.
Deep,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Medic Nelson,
Yes.
Newfeld,
Yes.
Hyatt,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Bardo,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes. We'll go on to item J, report of donations.
Move the board accept the following donations: $46,174.99 from Anago Gridiron Club for Schofield Stadium renovation project, $2,000 from Julie Strong Memorial for Environmental Education Center at Neboken in memory of Julie Langseth, $2,000 from Julie Strong Memorial for AMS track in memory of Julie Langseth, $4,500 from Julie Strong Memorial for USDA gymnastics in memory of Julie Langseth, $500 from John E. McKenna for Clara R. McKenna Aquatic Center, $20,000 from an anonymous donor for Environmental Education Center at Neboken in honor of Ellen Case, and $500 from the Optimist Club for AHS donor tables tennis for a total of $75,674.99.
Second.
Okay, and we'd just like to say thank you to all those donations. Once again, showing how generous our community is. And are there any comments or questions? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry.
Okay, we will go on to confirm that the next board meeting will be Tuesday, February 22nd. At 6 o'clock here. And a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Dan. Hope you feel better.